Welcome back to Lifelong Echoes. Today, we're mastering English through the incredible story of the Wright brothers. But this isn't just about inventing the airplane. This is about two bicycle mechanics with no college education who proved that every expert in the world was wrong, crashed over 1,000 times, spent every dollar they had, and on December 17, 1903, flew for exactly 12 seconds and changed human history forever. Imagine, all the greatest scientists and engineers say that human flight is impossible. The laws of physics simply won't allow it. Wealthy inventors with unlimited funding have tried and failed spectacularly. And two brothers from Ohio who fix bicycles for a living say, "We can do it." Everyone laughed at them until they didn't. Here's how today's shadowing works. I'm going to tell this story at a slower, clearer pace, perfect for shadowing. Your job is simple. Speak along with me throughout the entire story, matching my rhythm and emotion. Shadow the whole story as you listen. That's it. Ready? Let's soar into one of the greatest underdog stories in history. Dayton, Ohio, 1892. Two brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, open a small bicycle shop. They repair bicycles, sell bicycles, and eventually design their own bicycles. It's honest work, but nothing special. Nobody would predict that these two quiet bicycle mechanics would soon revolutionize human transportation forever. Wilbur is 4 years older than Orville. He's serious, methodical, and brilliant with his hands. Orville is more outgoing, creative, and loves taking things apart to see how they work. Neither brother finished high school. Neither went to college. They learned everything through reading, experimenting, and relentless curiosity. The brothers are fascinated by a question that has haunted humanity for thousands of years. Why can't humans fly like birds? Throughout history, countless inventors tried and failed. Leonardo da Vinci designed flying machines in the 1400s that never left the ground. In the 1990s, wealthy inventors built elaborate flying contraptions that crashed spectacularly, sometimes killing their pilots. Most scientists insisted that human flight was impossible. The New York Times published an article in 1903 stating that it would take 1 million to 10 million years before humans could fly. Mathematics professor Simon Newcomb proved with calculations that heavier-than-air flight violated the laws of physics. But Wilbur and Orville weren't convinced by expert opinions. They believed that flight was an engineering problem, not a physics impossibility. If birds could fly, humans could fly. They just needed to figure out how. In 1899, Wilbur wrote to the Smithsonian Institution requesting everything they had published about flight. He devoured books about birds, wind, air pressure, and failed flying machines. The brothers studied every attempt at flight, learning from every failure. Most inventors focused on building more powerful engines. The Wright brothers realized the real problem was control. Birds don't just have wings, they constantly adjust their wing angles to turn, rise, and descend. Any successful flying machine would need similar control. Wilbur observed birds closely and noticed something crucial. Birds twist their wingtips to turn. He experimented by twisting a long cardboard box and realized this wing warping could control an aircraft. It was a breakthrough insight that experts had missed. The brothers began building gliders, unpowered aircraft, to test their theories. They needed a place with consistent wind, soft sand for crash landings, and privacy away from mocking spectators. They found the perfect location, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, a remote beach with strong, steady winds. October 1900. Wilbur and Orville Wright arrive at Kitty Hawk with their first glider. The location is perfect for flying, but miserable for living. They camp in a tent among sand dunes, battling mosquitoes so vicious that Wilbur writes home, "They chewed us clear through our underwear and socks." Their first glider tests are disappointing. The aircraft lifts off, but is nearly impossible to control. It crashes repeatedly into the sand. They make adjustments and try again. More crashes. More adjustments. More crashes. But each crash teaches them something. They take careful notes, make precise measurements, and systematically solve one problem at a time. While wealthy inventors throw money at bigger engines and fancier designs, the Wright brothers methodically figure out the science of flight.
In 1901, they return to Kitty Hawk with an improved glider. This time, disaster strikes. The glider performs worse than their previous design. They make over 1,000 test flights, and almost all end in crashes or near crashes. Wilbur is so discouraged that he tells Orville, "Men will not fly for 50 years." Back in Dayton, deeply depressed, Wilbur considers giving up on flight entirely. But Orville refuses to quit. "We were wrong about some things, but we learned what was wrong," he argues. "We just need to start from scratch and test everything ourselves." The brothers realize that all the published data about air pressure and wing shapes is unreliable. The experts they trusted had been working with bad information. So, the Wright brothers build a wind tunnel in their bicycle shop, one of the first wind tunnels ever constructed. For months, they test over 200 different wing shapes in their wind tunnel. They measure air pressure at different angles. They collect data that no one has ever gathered before. It's tedious, painstaking work, but it reveals the truth about how air flows over wings. Armed with accurate data, the brothers designed their best glider yet.
In 1902, they returned to Kitty Hawk. This time, everything changes. The new glider flies beautifully. The brothers make over 700 successful test flights, some lasting more than 26 seconds. They've solved the control problem. They can turn left and right, climb and descend, fly in crosswinds. They've achieved what no one else has: controlled, sustained glider flight. Now they face the final challenge: adding an engine.
The glider proves humans can fly if they solve the control problem. But for practical flight, they need power. The Wright brothers need a gasoline engine light enough for flight, but powerful enough to lift an aircraft with a pilot. They contact engine manufacturers, but no one can build what they need at a price they can afford, so they build their own engine in their bicycle shop, using tools designed for bicycles. They also design their own propellers. This sounds simple, but it's not. Propellers aren't like fan blades. They're like spinning wings that must push air backward efficiently. The brothers spend months calculating the perfect shape, carving propellers from laminated spruce wood. By September 1903, they're ready. They pack up their new flying machine, which they call the Wright Flyer, and return to Kitty Hawk for what they hope will be the first powered, controlled flight in human history. But nothing goes smoothly. The engine cracks during testing. Propeller shafts break. Repairs require sending parts back to Dayton and waiting weeks for replacements. As winter approaches, conditions at Kitty Hawk become brutal. Freezing wind, ice forming on their water bucket, hands too cold to work effectively. Meanwhile, a wealthy inventor named Samuel Langley is attempting flight with enormous funding from the U.S. government. Langley has PhD scientists, the best engineers money can buy, and unlimited resources. On December 8, 1903, Langley's aircraft launches from a houseboat on the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., with reporters watching. It crashes immediately into the river. The pilot barely escapes drowning. Newspapers mock the failed attempt. The New York Times, which had just declared flight impossible, refused to report on it at all. 9 days later, December 17, 1903, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. It's cold and windy. Orville and Wilbur flip a coin to see who will pilot the first attempt. Orville wins. At 10:35 a.m., Orville lies flat on the lower wing of their aircraft. Wilbur runs alongside, steadying the wingtip. The engine sputters to life. The propellers spin. The aircraft moves forward along a wooden rail they've laid down. It picks up speed. Then, incredibly, it lifts off the ground. For 12 seconds, Orville Wright flies 120 feet through the air. 12 seconds. A distance shorter than the wingspan of a modern Boeing 747. But those 12 seconds, humanity achieves what we've dreamed of for thousands of years. A local man named John Daniels captures the moment in one of history's most famous photographs, the Wright Flyer airborne, Wilbur running beside it, the sand dunes of Kitty Hawk stretching behind. They make 3 more flights that day. On the 4th flight, Wilbur flies for 59 seconds, covering 852 feet. Then a gust of wind flips the aircraft, damaging it beyond repair. But they've done it. They've flown. You might think the world immediately celebrated the Wright brothers. It didn't. In fact, most people didn't believe them. The brothers sent a telegram to their father. Success 4 flights Thursday morning, all against 21-mile wind, started from level with engine power alone, average speed through air
31 miles, longest 57 seconds, inform press, home, Christmas. Their father gave the telegram to a local newspaper. The Dayton Daily News published a tiny skeptical article. Most major newspapers ignored the story completely. The New York Times, which had just declared flight impossible, refused to report on it at all. Why didn't people believe? The Wright brothers had no photographs of the flights, beyond the one takeoff image. No reporters witnessed the flights. No government officials validated their claims, and the brothers themselves were just bicycle mechanics, not famous scientists or engineers. For nearly 5 years, the Wright brothers continued developing their aircraft in secret, making hundreds of flights near Dayton, Ohio. Yet the world remained skeptical. Even when they demonstrated their improved aircraft publicly in 1908, some people insisted it was a trick or hoax. The breakthrough came when Wilbur traveled to France in 1908 and gave public demonstrations. French aviators and engineers had been attempting flight for years without success. When they saw Wilbur fly with precise control, making circles in the sky, they were stunned. One French aviator said, "We are beaten. We just don't exist." Overnight, the Wright brothers became international celebrities. By 1909, the U.S. Army purchased its first military aircraft from the Wright brothers. By 1910, commercial aviation began. By 1914, World War I saw aircraft used in combat. By 1927, Charles Lindbergh flew solo across the Atlantic Ocean. By 1969, humans walked on the moon. All because 2 bicycle mechanics refused to accept that flight was impossible. Wilbur died tragically young in 1912 at age 45 from typhoid fever. Orville lived until 1948, long enough to see aircraft fly faster than sound and witness the dawn of the jet age. When asked about their success, Orville said, "If we had worked 100 or 1,000 times, we could not have expected to get through without some serious mishap. That we are still alive is due to the care and caution we exercised." The Wright brothers succeeded where wealthier, better educated inventors failed, because they combined 3 things: careful scientific method, willingness to learn from failure, and absolute determination. They didn't have money, fancy degrees, or government backing. They had curiosity, courage, and each other. They proved that the experts can be wrong, that persistence beats privilege, and that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from the most unexpected places. Incredible work! You just learned English through one of history's greatest underdog success stories. Your homework: watch this video multiple times. First time, enjoy the story. Second time, shadow along with the entire narrative. Third time, focus on the parts about persistence through failure, speaking with determination. Each time, your English confidence soars higher. Quick question: which moment inspired you most? The 1,000 crashes? Building an engine in their bicycle shop? The 12-second flight? The world not believing them for 5 years? Comment below. Remember, the Wright brothers had no college education, no funding, and every expert said they'd fail. But they learned from each crash and kept going. You're on the same journey, learning English through persistence, practice, and refusing to accept impossible. Hit subscribe for more incredible stories that supercharge your English. Next time, another extraordinary life, another English breakthrough. Keep shadowing, keep flying, keep reaching higher.